discussing the most facing the tourism industry, and I'm sure that we are all agree to discuss the Bali tourism for better future. As a chairwoman of the Bali Tourism Investment Summit, it gives me great pleasure and honor to extend to you all a very warm welcome on behalf of the Institute of Tourism. I wish to take this opportunity to welcome the online participant from Europe, America, Africa, Australia, and also Asia as the representative of the leaders, experts, students, lecturers, and researchers. I also wish to welcome all our honorable boards and speakers, the Executive Board, Dr. Talib Rifai and Dr. Reza Soltani as the Director. I wish to take this opportunity to welcome the online participant from the speakers from leader and expert, Bapak Ana Agung Sutadiana as the Director of Bali Capital Investment and Legal Authority as the representative of Bali governments. And other speaker, Mr. Rose Woods from PT Hotel Investasi Strategies will share with us about hotel investment strategy and asset management of Indonesia. Mr. Terje Holte Nielsen from the Seven Stone Indonesia with topic Bali tourism impact toward real estate sector. And Dr. Mangku Kandio from the Wisnu Foundation, Desa Wisata Foundation, will share tourism village in Bali. Dr. Nunung Rusmiati from ASITA, Association of Indonesia Travel Agent, talk about travel movement in Bali. And then the six speakers, Mr. Alexander Reiner from Amadeus, he will talk about the Amadeus and the destination. And also, I'm sure that he will share the data and its implication to business and investment in Bali. Next speaker, Mangku Suteja from Nawacita Pariwisata Indonesia with topic presentation, the emerging trends and opportunities for sustainable tourism investment in Bali. Muhammad Nalendra from Step with topic maximize blue investment towards sustainable tourism in Bali. And the next speaker, ninth speaker, Professor Wolfgang Arid as a CEO China Outbound Tourism and from Research Institute Germany will share about how to attracting the right Chinese investor to get the Chinese travelers to Bali. And the last, Mr. Jürgen Steinmetz will share about World Tourism Network. And for 2 hours and a half, the webinar will conduct and lead by the moderator, Mrs. Ratna Subrata, the Secretary General Pata Bali and Nusa Tenggara Chapter. I think this event talk about common challenges, share best practices, and discuss the investment in Bali that will help our investor grow, adapt, and innovate so they can meet the realities of tidal as well as the demand of the tomorrow. I strongly hope that all the distinguished guests gathered here today will offer your generous support and encouragement for the success of this event. Once again, I'm most grateful for your participation. Thanks, thousands of people again, as Ratna said, that are watching our summit live on different platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, and also in our website. Enjoy the webinar, and thank you very much. Now I give the time to Burana as a moderator. Please, Burana, time's on your hand.
Thank you, Dr. Reka. Indeed, Bali is still open for investors. And no, talking about Bali tourism is not only on the south. People in Nusa Dua, of course, because of the destination of MICE. Also, remember that Bali is not only the south, but we have also the east, the north, the west, and this is all has a beautiful landscape and peoples, and of course, the culture. Okay, without the further ado, we would like to invite actually our Vice Governor, Bapak Professor Choke Arta Adana Sukawati. He couldn't be here with us, but we will have, he will be represented by Bapak Ana Agung Sutadiana. He's the Director of Bali Capital Investment and Local Authority as representative of Government of Bali. You know, Government of Bali will be always helpful and support for the incoming visitors. So I think Bapak Gungsuta would like to share what is actually needed for Bali and what are the regulation will be. Bapak Gungsuta, time is yours.
So
Yeah, thank you very much, Bapak Gongsuta. If I could just, yeah, thank you. If I just take a little summary that Bali has six sectors, and it is farming, marine and fishery, industry, SME, small medium enterprises, creative economy, and digital and tourism. And with the island width of 5.6 square meters, 5,000, I mean, with 55 regions and 701 villages, that we are actually more than ready to welcome investment. By the way, we'll share it with you in English. And that Sanur now is building the hospital, which is quite Bali. You will love it because you don't see the like other area. Everything is underneath. And then also the Marina Benoa that we expect to have to serve 6,000 passengers coming from the youth vessels. Nowadays, if you see our guests, which is arriving by vessels, is sometimes coming through Padang Bay or Amu Bay. The reason being because our Brunei is not yet ready for that capacity. We're using tender to back and forth to transport the gas. Mind you, if the ship is having like 3,000 passengers, it's just quite a challenge. So the Bali government actually would like to extend more that, and this is still under construction. And I think it's many more. The area, as I mentioned earlier, that it's not only on the south, but yeah, with the concept of the Kerta Bali towards Greens. So thank you very much, Bapak Gongsuta. Bapak, terima kasih banyak. Nanti kalau ada pertanyaan, kita kembali ke Bapak. Ya, terima kasih Pak. Matur suwun semua. Iya.
Can we ask a question?
Okay. Inge, yeah, terima kasih. All right. Yeah, sure.
What is the status
Hello.
of the Mengavi to Gillimanu road development?
Oh, sorry, Sandy, I'm sorry. Can we put the question and answer later? Because we would like to all the distinguished speakers to present first. All right? All right. Thank you, Sandy. We'll get back to you. Thank you. All right. So move on to the second speaker, Mr. Rose Woods. So he is from the Hotel Investment Strategy and Asset Management Indonesia. So he has an experience more over the 30 years of a global experience in the hotel assets management, portfolio management, and also hotel investment advisory services. So without further ado, welcome, Mr. Rosewoods. Time is yours. 10 minutes, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I want to thank the Institute of Tourism for inviting me to speak this afternoon at this excellent webinar. I want to speak at the outset as a potential international investor. I want to put my mind in the mind of an international investor that has opportunities to invest in the tourism industry throughout the Asia Pacific region. But before I do that, I'd like to share a few slides with you just on Bali and the rate of recovery. If we could go to the second. This slide illustrates the historical growth in both domestic and international visitors to Bali since early 2004. The blue lines represent the historical data. The red lines are what we call our pre-COVID forecast, and the green line represents the current visitor level. And I just wanted to illustrate that that many people are using 2019 as a benchmark in evaluating investment opportunities. We both do that, but we also look at the shortfall from current performance to the forecasted visitor arrivals. And as you can see, the domestic market has grown very significantly in a V shape, and is now near its all-time levels of 2019, but clearly some way off the forecast. If we look at the international market, clearly it has some way to go, but you can see that we're some way off the forecasts that were provided. Now, a lot of people are looking at the extent to which these markets are recovering, but of course, if you look at 2019, clearly there are a lot of developers that brought projects to fruition, and so the demand forecasts clearly would have taken advantage of that. So if I could have the next slide, please. This particular slide illustrates monthly occupancies for Indonesia, Jakarta and Bali in terms of star-rated hotels. So you can clearly see the significant downturn in occupancies for Bali during the COVID period. But now, of course, it's recovered, not to the extent that many would like, but still it's shown significant recovery. Next slide, please. Interestingly, if we look and we track on a monthly basis the performance of all provinces and all star ratings throughout the provinces, and if we look at the 6-month period, January 23 to June 23, and compare it to January 22 to June 22, Bali, whether it be 2, 3, 4, 5 star or even the total, is the fastest growing and the greatest recovery that we've seen to date. So Bali is certainly on track to get back to previous performance. Next slide. Now, one of the things I'm going to raise in a moment is the lack of significant and long-term data in relation to the performance of various hotel and tourism assets. But the only data that's available in a public format comes from the Bank of Indonesia. This is a price index, and the Bank of Indonesia provides this on a quarterly basis. This is for hotels, and you can see the growth. The index was 100 in 2017, and clearly the Bank of Indonesia were making significant revisions to the value of hotels during the peak of COVID, and now they've recovered and established at just over 100. Next slide. Now, one of the things that I think that Bali is now entering a much more competitive environment, and I suspect that with other regions in Indonesia now competing with international for international tourists and the burgeoning domestic tourism market, Bali has achieved about a 40% market penetration in the international visitor market in Indonesia. And I guess there's much speculation as to whether or not Bali can continue to increase its market share, or in fact it'll stabilise somewhere around 40%. Okay, next slide. If we look at that, I say at the outset that investment success, whether it be private or public, is very much depends on both public and private sector investment. And if we look at the private sector investments and tourism investments, we clearly accommodation, restaurants, food and beverage, transport facilities, various activities, tourist attractions, theme parks, and the like. Now, one of the characteristics of hotel investments generally is that there's high and volatile cash flows. Normally, these assets are involved with property, significant lead time between the development, construction, and the optimum performance of some of these assets, high development impact, and the intensity of management. Tourism facilities and tourism investments normally require significant management expertise, and clearly in terms of star-rated hotels, we look at hotel management companies. In terms of tourism transactions, they involve complex documentation, many participants, particularly if there was a development project. We're looking at contractors, we're looking at hotel management companies, we're looking at developers, we're looking at debt providers. There may be 2 or 3 debt providers and of course, equity participants. High costs involved in many tourism transactions, often involving several jurisdictions in terms of local and regional and perhaps even national governments, and significant due diligence that's required on the part of hotel investors. So tourism investments are essentially a high risk, high return. And it's very important we understand that investors seek different types of returns. And one of the things that institutional type investors and private equity groups that have significant capital funds, they have different funds for different types of assets. And they categorize them into about 4 different areas. We talk about core returns. Core returns are essentially maybe looking at 3, 4, 5% return, and they have significantly less risk. Core plus, value add, and opportunistic. And I think it's fair to say that many foreign investors view investing in countries other than their own as potentially value added or opportunistic type investments. Clearly, they're involved and need to understand what type of infrastructure and attractions a destination may have. They're particularly interested in looking at the approval process for acquisition and any further development. They're clearly wanting to get a very good handle on other investment opportunities in the marketplace, data availability, regional data benchmarks, cost structures, demand, supply, and investment criteria, and what type of professional support may be available to assist in the acquisitions and the ongoing management of these new investments. So if we look at the critical factors that foreign investors would take into account, firstly, you need to understand there's fierce competition for capital. And while Bali and Indonesia has many opportunities for offshore foreign investors, Indonesia is competing with other countries in Southeast Asia, competing with North America and Europe for capital. I mentioned one of the critical factors is liquidity and transparency, which is a major issue for Indonesia and also Bali. The issues of transparency and poor liquidity. Market transparency allows investors to operate and make decisions with confidence. Without high levels of transparency, hotel real estate markets cannot work efficiently. Now, here in Bali, we have very, very few transactions, and what transactions have taken place are normally, there's very little information that's publicly available. And while Indonesia's real estate sector has improved its transparency index, according to Jones Lang LaSalle, it's got some way to go. The issues of governance and the rule of law clearly is an issue for many offshore investors, and we're looking at how stable local government may be, and emphasise the significance of fair legal processes and predictable outcomes. Very, very important concept for foreign investors. As I say, the governance and the rule of law determines how easily and successfully a business may operate. Legal processes need to be clear, fair, and free, with some legal certainty. So these are the sorts of things that sophisticated offshore investors would be looking at. They'd also be looking at what type of government support has been committed, the type of infrastructure, supporting infrastructure, conductivity, and travel facilitation. And of course, Bali has some challenges in this regard. And offshore investors clearly will be looking at the type of planning and the sustainability issues, which are becoming much more important. And I think that going forward, individual hotel assets or tourism attractions may seek certification, sustainability certification. I know the GSTC provides workshops and training for properties to seek this certification. Offshore investors are interested to know the skilled workforce, the service culture, and of course, taxation is always an issue for offshore investors. They're clearly not wanting to be double taxed, both in Indonesia as well as the home countries. And just to sum up here, I've said that in making any pitch deck for investments from offshore, we need to focus on benefits. Very, very, very important, not features. And many pitch decks which are used to seek capital spend a lot of time looking at features rather than benefits. I've just mentioned here, I don't want to go through this. This is given the lack of total transparency and the lack of data, time series data for Indonesia in relation to various tourism asset classes, it's incumbent on anyone who is going to sell any type of tourist attraction to provide much more information than one has seen in the past. And so I've just suggested here that these would be some of the major headings that you would need to fill out, in order to overcome the deficit of publicly available data. And so often I've seen serious attempts to raise capital offshore with very scanty information. And if anyone is familiar with what is happening in Europe and North America, significant due diligence is undertaken, and there are a lot of effort going into these information memorandums in order to attract capital. So I'm going to stop it there, and if there's any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them later in the session. Thank you very much.
So, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Rosewood. Yep. Okay, for the next speaker, we will have Ms. of Seven Stones Indonesia. It's a new consultancy company doing market entry services for foreign investors, legal advice, sourcing of investment, and is particularly in real estate services investments. So the Seven Stone journey began in real estate and tourism, but now it's offering larger spectrum of services. So without further ado, Mr. Nelson, please. Time is yours, 10 minutes. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity to speak. Institute of Tourism, Ibu Eka and Ibu Ratna. I'm going to continue talking a little bit about the things that Ross talked about, maybe a little bit about property, but probably a bit more towards what we know is villas and not so much the larger part of properties and hotels and whatever that Ross has talked about. And we tend to forget very often that real estate is an important aspect of tourism and tend to grow hand in hand with what is going on in the general sort of tourism development picture. Sometimes that's heavily overlooked, but I think through COVID, a lot of places, including Bali and other tourism destinations, discovered that tourism is something that can suddenly disappear. We had incidents like COVID, and every now and then there's other incidents that impacts the market. So there's been a lot of studies looking into how residential tourism can help to support that. And I think there is a few studies in particular to Canary Islands and others that are similar to Bali that worked out that the financial earnings or impact that a residential tourism can have compared to, let's say, the pre-COVID 6 million expat tourists coming to Indonesia only needs 150,000 people to live in Bali. And obviously that is before we look at all the other impacts that the investments into properties and real estate will have. So that's a thing that I think is worth noting for all stakeholders and something that Bali should consider forward. Second slide, please. I guess in COVID, we were all impacted really badly, in particular tourism, but also property. Everything kind of stopped up. Rental prices vanished. There was a few pockets such as Canggu, Uluwatu that still had some expats staying in there. And through that time of COVID, we saw a lot of investment funds and other highly qualified individuals that were looking at the opportunities and wanted to come back after COVID or during COVID to buy failing assets. That hasn't happened though. When we see that Bali, through COVID and other acts of terror and also financial crisis and so on, that Bali is very resilient in terms of property prices. So that's an inviting part for investors to consider the Bali market. That has to do with things like the export market is mainly cash driven because it's difficult to obtain market mortgage in Bali. Some properties obviously fell over and had to give in, but since then we've seen over the last year that rental prices and property prices has gone up tremendously quick, and it's actually difficult today to find high-end or medium-end long-term rentals. This is particularly in areas like Canggu, Uluwatu, and now we can see more and more into areas like Tabanan, and I think there are several reasons for that. I think it's like what Mr. Ross showed us too, that the tourism market, both on the domestic market and international market, has recovered to pre-COVID rates, more or less. But there's also a change in the market in the sense that general tourists tend to stay a bit longer than before. I think pre-COVID it was like 3.7 days in average. Now it seems to be a lot longer, and there's also a lot of residential, full-time or semi-residential that we see coming in. With the next slide, please. So I think the challenges or the main aspects that we see impacting this in Bali is basically property prices, and then the possible threat of oversupply, which we've seen in the past and we may see again now, and then the ongoing aspect of ownership structures. Maybe the next slide. I think when we talk about property prices in Bali, we've seen that this continue to go up. I don't think we've ever seen, except for maybe COVID, and after the acts of terror, it's come down. And there's a few main factors for that. I think one of them is the value for money that foreigners, when they invest into Bali, is what they see is that buyers that comes from typically Australia, Singapore, Hong Kong, Europe, and other areas, they can sell a home or an apartment in these areas and end up buying 2, 3, maybe 4 villas in Bali. So with that, people see that they get more for less, if that makes sense. And I think another aspect of this is also that prices had continued to be up. And again, something that Ross speaks a lot about is the cycles of property market in Bali. We haven't seen that sort of happen yet. It continued to go up. The challenge that we see though when we do market and sell properties is the same aspect, that there's no tangible market, no tangible data that we can show investors because there is no centralized sort of registration, even though there is track records of purchase. So this tends to be in the past downgraded values from real transactions and so on. And this is kind of preventing that other more sophisticated investors to come in, and hopefully that's something we can change into the future. But I think all of this will find its way, and we can see a few other challenges with this. Maybe the next slide now. In sense of oversupply and so on, there is a few things that we see in particular in places like Kuta, Seminyak, and Legian, where maybe property prices has peaked a bit, and maybe in some areas actually goes down. And we see that the market tend to sort of ease further out, Sese, Tabanan, Uluwatu, Ubud, and so on. And this has to do with possibly the lack of infrastructure, but also the height restrictions and other aspects of it. I think one of the threats that we always see and tend to see is an oversupply, and it may sound strange to bring that up now when we see that property prices and rental prices continue to go up. But if we put our ears and eyes on the ground, we can see that there's a massive construction going on of villas, and there's an awful lot of what we call off-plan going on and happening. So I think there is a risk that in the very near future, there will be a substantial to build a villa. I know this is also an ongoing sort of conflict between resorts, bigger hotels, and the villa market, sometimes cannibal into each other. But I also think that to regulate this is important. Today, I think you can find thousands of developers. Everyone is a developer in Bali. And I don't think that's a good thing. The government needs to be much more proactive to regulate this. There's a lot of, our governor has exposed this, lack of tax registrations, non-registered leases, which we need to pick up on, but also the regulation of who can actually be a developer, because this challenges the market in the sense that we get very low quality built villas and so on that impacts the entire market. I actually also, to support Pakoster and our governor in that, wrote a blog about this where I refer to Canggu as the $0 tourism. This has to do with the hype that goes on around NFTs and cryptos and digital nomads and so on. There is nothing wrong with that, but it absolutely needs to be regulated and enforced. Next slide. I think also we see along those lines, and before we get into the ownership structures, that regulation is an ongoing thing. And the intro from the first speaker on regulations and what Bali and also central government Indonesia is doing on this needs to be much more regulated and enforced, in the sense that today it's very simple to get what we call a general permit or an izin lokasi, and then you have the validasi ulang or the PU confirmation of that. But there's a lot of breach of that going on, which means we then get a lot of overbuilt, and it continues into PBG, which is the new IMB or build permit. And Indonesia and also Bali now has implemented what is called an SLF, or right of use, or a confirmation of that property, which there's also a lot of not so good ways of managing going around. And this, I think, is also another part that needs to be pushed forward and enforced better. When it comes to ownership structures, in the past, Bali was known to have a lot of nominee. That's all, or almost gone. It still happens every now and then, and there's a few die-hard structures on that. But for foreigners, there's now quite a few options. In particular, worth mentioning hakpakke, which is a right of use. This can be a freehold title converted into a hakpakke. It's been around for a long time. It has some limitations in terms of investment amount, minimum investment amount, and also the size of it. And then you have some that continued into what we today call the second home visa, which is a new thing and slowly finds its momentum. So today a person or a foreigner can come in and start that process without having anything. The property can then only be a second home, though, so it cannot commercialize the property. And we know that in the near future, immigration is also going to launch a golden visa, which is a sort of continued and golden package around the same. Then there's a lot of what we call HCB titles or commercial titles, which requires a PMA or a PTY LTD structure. Some restrictions around that in terms of minimum investments, but today that's probably the easiest way to enter the market in Indonesia, obtaining a visa, and this property can also then be commercialized. I think the last thing I'll talk a little bit about is lease, which is rental structure, and in this context more of a long-term lease, which there is a tendency that notaries and others in Bali allows a tourist to just walk off the street and set up a long-term lease. To me, and I think to the market, this is not good, because it triggers all kinds of possible issues around that. There's no tax compliance if it's commercialized. It has immigration issues. Again, there's a lot of non-registered leases going on, so they should all be enforced and notarized and make sure that they are in tax compliance. I think for the future, the real estate market has a definite and will continue to grow. It has a big part to play, I think, in the future of Bali. We see, and I think there's other speakers that wants to talk more about the trends and so on, but we see a massive move towards eco-residences. People are more conscious on what they want, and I think places like Tabanan and Gianyar in particular will have a good opportunity to be the sort of next diamond in the diamond, being Bali. Communities, mixed use, but I think it's also important that we sort of retain the Bali touch to this. The markets are being pushed by remote workers, digital nomads, whatever we want to call them. A lot of people that want lifestyle changes, that are attracted to Bali's culture and the different life of what they're used to back home. And then I guess last, ROI-driven investors with the continued uplift and growth of the market. I think that was all I would talk about for today. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions, or if anyone wants to reach out after the seminar, we are more than happy to talk to anyone. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you very much, Mr. Nelson. Yeah, actually, I agree with you, because when people say, oh, there is no, Bali is keep on building things, I agree with you that villas construction is everywhere, especially in Canggu area, even out in Tabanan. But okay, let's see. Hopefully that the demand and supply will actually equal when the tourism is 100% back to normal. All right, thank you very much. We'll come back to you with a question and answer session later on. All right, for the next speaker will be Dr. Mangku Kandia. So he is the CEO of BUMDes Bersama Gianyar, as well as the Executive Director of Desa Wisata Academy Indonesia. He's involving in so many organizations and associations in the past, mainly involving on the Desa Wisata activities, or we call it tourism villages. So Dr. Kandia will speak about tourism village in Bali. As you probably know, after COVID, when tourists come back to Bali, they always say, we would like to go back to nature, right? They don't want like a huge hotel, huge building, but they really would love to experience staying in a homestay, staying with the local, experience the cuisines, as well as learning the daily life. Dr. Kandia, time is yours. 10 minutes, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Madam Ratna as moderator, thank you very much. Dr. Mahadevi inviting me as one of the speakers in this very nice seminars. Dear colleagues and participants, so first of all, I would like to apologize myself. I didn't prepare my slide because returning from West Papua, to what we call it, to empower some of the village in the West Papua, Indonesia. So I'm from Desa Wisata Nusantara, or the Wisnu Foundation, aim at to empower our village. The reason why we have to develop this village because of the target of our government. At least during these 5 years, we have 8,000 tourism villages. As you know, ladies and gentlemen, in our country, Indonesia, we have got 75,000 villages. Once again, 75,000 villages. So our president's mission, Mr. Jokowi, Mr. President would like to develop Indonesia from the outskirts, from the village. So in Desa Wisata, in tourism village, we develop 5 principles, ladies and gentlemen. First principle is tourist attraction. How we create a tourist attraction in the village. So what makes tourists come to the village? The second one, of course, we need to empower our local, how to build up the homestays and the toilet. And after that, the souvenir, like a culinary, right, a handicraft. And also, we need to help them about digital marketing. And the last one, and this is 90% of problem in our tourism village, is how to manage the tourism village, the management. So in the investments we need actually is what we call it, like human resources development. Yeah, from universities, from all of you guys, yeah, to come to the village to develop our local, especially how to manage the tourist destination. This is very important for us. That's why we come down to tourism village, as a community-based tourism. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is something new, right? Tourism village, was developed actually, aggressively by Minister of Sandiaga Uno since 2021. So till now, we have the Tourism Village Award by the Ministry of Tourism. So we have candidates around 5,573 villages, And the Ministry of Tourism just select 75 villages in Indonesia. That's why, so I work for the Ministry of Tourism to evaluate 75 tourism village of this country. Ladies and gentlemen, Indonesia is very large, very huge, 17,500 islands. Oh my God, it's a vast, country with a lot of ethnic group. I think my point is, our conclusions, what we need the investment from tourism villages are, we need, people come to our village to invest, for human resources and technology, especially for digital marketing. I think, I'm sorry once again, I didn't prepare my slide. Thank you very much. So time give back to Madam Moderator. Thank you very much. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Dr. Kandir. Wow, thousands of villages, yeah. And I understand that Pak Sandi also would like to promote
Yes,
more and more
Madam.
the Desa Wisata. Yeah?
You're
All
right.
right. Thank you so much. And welcome back to Bali later on, all right? Since you're traveling. Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished speakers and also board of directors of the Institute of Tourism. So Dr. Rifai, Dr. Rifai here, and also Pareza. So for the next speakers that will be delivered by Dr. Nunung Rusmiati. So Dr. Nunung Rusmiati, she is the president of ASITA. ASITA is the Association of Travel Agent Indonesia, which the head office is in Jakarta, and they have a few offices, so we call it DPD, in a few provinces in Indonesia. And the challenge nowadays with the travel agency is, well, put it this way, the online marketing, online digitalization, and maybe Ibu Nunung can share with us, do we really need a travel agent probably in the next 5 years or 10 years? But on the investment, investment forum, so probably for something else. So Ibu Nunung, silakan. Nice meeting you again, Ibu.
Yeah, nice to
Mine
meeting
is
you,
yours.
Bu Ratna. Great, thank you very much. Okay then, can please my presentation. Okay, when we waiting for the presentation, oh, that's okay, got it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. First of all, I like to thank you very much. Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank you. This is the second I'm joined, and then I'm very appreciate. Thank you, Bu Ratna, and all speaker. It's very great. Right now, I'm in the Bali. It's very nice and I'm very appreciate and happy because all the hotel is very good crowded, and then also we could check the incubator is very crowded. Thank you. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. I'm the president of ASITA, Association of the Indonesia Tour and Travel Agencies. And then what Ibu Ratna mentioned, that is our member 7,000 across the people province. And then right now it's very good positive thinking for after COVID. So this is, I will see the regulation from the government. It is very good. I'm very thank you with the government of Bali. They already make the regulation is very perfect, and then if we have a little bit problem sometimes in the media social, but in fact, the government already serious to make regulation and then whatever. Since I'm studying, I know exactly about the Bali. And then the Bali is very, very good regulation, even the government. So maybe if not like we see in the social media, it is only 1% and 2%. This is, you can see this is our government roles. The point is right now, I want to see with the government and ASITA, especially for the regulation need for socialization to foreign tourists in Bali in using clothes according to customer rules when visiting holy place in Bali. In fact, I know it is already have regulation. If we go to the holy place, if you with the short pants, they will give some clothes for to make it is a polite. The second, many unlicensed guides are often incorporated by tourism in Bali, because as you know, but if we have a guide, if my license, if not, they will. I mean, not possible. Like what I said, when he bring or he offer the rent car, the price it will be high. So please make a note, if you want to go to Bali, especially if you need the guide, please you ask the license for tour guide, because we also have the license for guide, and then they already training everything for the regulation, for the price. That is the point. And then the third, the role of the tourism task force in introduction online complaint must still the carry out of, so that the ombudsman can follow up on them, because many tourists raise negative issue on the media social. And then the last, the tourist actor together with the related government are guarding policies in the field. So I want to make a conclusion. I mean, when the tourism come, especially for the foreigner, we must follow the regulation in Bali. You know, Bali is very unique because they have a lot of the celebration, and then it is very interesting. As long as we explain, and they will understand what we need, and with whatever they will follow the regulation. Sorry, because right now I'm in the middle of meeting with the daughter vice president in Bali. So that's all for me. But again, I'm very appreciate, and then I know for sure the government very support for especially in one tour in Indonesia. That's Ibu Ratna, because right now I'm in Bali. So I'm very glad to see you again, and then for the next future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mbak Nunung, and welcome again to Bali. Bali is your second home, right?
Yes.
So thank you so
you are
much for
right.
the insight. Okay, thank you, Mbak Nunung. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so the next speaker will be Mr. Alexander Rainier. So welcome back, okay, to the, because we just met him actually 2 weeks ago in Bali, and during one of the investment forum in Bali. So nice to meeting you again here. So he's the Director of Governments and Destination Relation of Amadeus, and will sharing with us about the data and implication to the business and investment in Bali. So please, Alex, time is yours.
Great, thank you, Ratna. So what I'm going to show you in the next few minutes is data from Amadeus, which Amadeus is a travel technology company. So we collect a lot of data, in fact, more data than any other entity in the world about travel tourism. And I'm going to present to you international air passenger trends, specifically for Bali. So to begin with, there's three key performance indicators that we look at. The first one is demand. So the demand for Bali, this represents searches made by consumers utilizing the online travel agents and travel websites. So that means everyone from Expedia to Ctrip in China, to Make My Trip in India, all the way down to people like Kayak and Skyscanner and so forth. Now, in terms of Bali in 2022, the demand was 1.39 billion. which represents, if you compare to 2019, 37% of the demand. And on average, compared to the world, it represents 49%. So Indonesia, or Bali specifically, is a little bit behind the world. It hasn't caught up to the world percentage of 49% yet, but it's moving there. The second indicator we look at is capacity. Capacity is measured by the number of available seats on direct flights into Bali. So in 2022, there was 2.93 million available seats into Bali on international flights, which was basically at 34% of 2019 numbers. And the world average in 2022 was 68%. The third indicator is the role of travel agents. And travel agents use what they call GDS, which is an acronym for Global Distribution Systems. There are 3 systems in the world. Amadeus is one of them. And there's also Sabre and Travelport. And in 2022, travel agents that use GDSs worldwide generated 335,000 air passengers to Bali who came on a return ticket, which compared to 2019 is 24%. And the world average for 2022 globally is 48%. So that kind of gives you an idea of where Bali is at in 2022 in performance, and how that relates to 2019 and how it relates to the world. Now, looking forward at 2023, the outlook, the airlines have at this stage allocated 7.19 million available seats into Bali on international flights. So that's rising the level to 83% of 2019. So that's obviously presenting a very positive outlook for Bali for this year, and hopefully that trend will continue. So now let me show you a little bit of detail about each of these indicators. So this is the slide which shows you the demand for Bali in 2022. And that's 1.39 billion searches, where it came from and what month did it happen. So you can see that Bali was kind of still not fully open January, February, March, and gradually opened up to the world with capacity and with regulations. So the numbers kind of grew from July onwards. And Australia was the number one market in terms of the origin, followed by the US, the UK, Germany, France, and then the rest followed. So that's basically where Bali was at in 2022. Now, I ran the numbers just today, which shows the demand for 2023 year to date. And just to show, 1.39 was the number for 2022. In 2023, as at the 7th of August, there was 1.91 billion searches for Bali. So the number of the demand is higher already today than it was for the full year of 2022. And based on year-to-date numbers, Bali is already at 51% of 2019. So that's a significant improvement, and the trend is moving, in a positive direction. And again, for 2023, the top markets of demand are Australia, followed by the US, followed by the UK, Korea, and then Germany, and then the rest follow. Interestingly, India is one of the high growth markets, origin markets. So that is a strong opportunity going forward. So that's demand in a nutshell. The second indicator is the capacity, which is the available seats. And in 2022, there was 2.93 million available seats into Bali. And the breakup, as you can see, basically January, February, there was very little, but then the numbers ramped up all the way till December. Australia was the number one origin market, followed by Singapore, Malaysia, the UAE, and Thailand. And then because we have the data for 2023, I've run that as well to show you. So 7.19 million available seats are available this year into Bali. And Australia is still number one, followed by Singapore, Malaysia, UAE, and Thailand. So not much change there. But we're at 83%. To give you another angle, another perspective, the next slide shows the capacity by origin city instead of origin country. So here we're looking at the top markets. Basically, numbers are the same, but just shows you, if you look at city level, the whole dynamics change. So Singapore becomes number one, followed by KL, then Melbourne in Australia, Perth in Australia, then Sydney in Australia, and then Dubai, and then the others follow. So that gives you an interesting dimension where it is useful to look at demand and capacity at city level, because that can help prioritize government resources in terms of where is the demand coming from, where can the demand be driven from, and so forth. So when the Ministry of Tourism or the provincial government's doing a roadshow to Australia, for example, which cities do you focus on? Then finally, the last indicator is the travel agent engagement. And again, for 2022, travel agents generated 335,000 air passengers to Bali. And so that shows you the role and the importance of travel agents is still there. Australia being the key market, followed by India, Germany, Korea, and the UK. So that's the engagement of travel agents. So if we kind of look at a summary of those top 5 markets for Bali in terms of demand, capacity, and travel agent engagement, you'll see Australia is pretty much aligned, being top in each of the 3 categories. But then you'll see disparity. So the demand from the USA is number 2, but there is no capacity because there's no direct flights from the USA. So as Thomas was saying, there used to be a flight from Honolulu to Bali. It's time for that flight to come back. Thomas, you may have an opportunity to rejuvenate that business in the future, hopefully, because the demand is definitely there. The capacity is lacking. And at the moment, anyone who comes from the US has to transit and connect through another airport, which is not convenient. So a lot of the conversion from the USA demand that's already there, the conversion's not happening, and you have leakage because the consumers from the US, they'd say, no direct flight, I'm going to go somewhere where there is a direct flight, and Bali misses out. So very important factor is to align the demand with capacity. And then the same applies with Europe. I mean, UK, Germany, France, there are no direct flights from those 3 markets, so everyone has to connect, and that is not helpful for Bali or for Indonesia. So the other factor is, of course, the role of travel agents. Travel agents are actually quite important, especially after COVID. The role and importance of travel agents has increased, and their level of engagement for destinations has gone up. And travel agents actually bring a lot of quality tourism to a destination. And because regulations and, regulations in general have become quite complicated, a lot of consumers now prefer to book with a travel agent because they don't want to be caught out in ruining a holiday because they didn't understand or interpret the regulations correctly. So the role and value of travel agents have actually increased, and that's a significant trend. So that's it in a nutshell. So what I'd like to just share with you is my email address. If you want a copy of the slides, the presentation, send me an email, and I'm happy to share it with you. And thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Rainier. And indeed, it's always interesting talking about the data. I agree with you fully that Garuda Indonesia should fly back from LA, Honolulu, and Bali. I think that will be really beneficial for US travelers to Bali. Indeed, because I have a lot of friends in the US who say, why do I have to go to Doha? Why do I have to go to Istanbul, just to get into Bali? Okay, but that's the government duty, right? The G to G to get the airlines back. But thank you very much. Okay. For the next speaker is Bapak Mangku Suteja. He is the Secretary General of NCPI. NCPI is Nawacita Pariwisata Indonesia. Is one of the association which most of the members are people from the tourism. So he's experienced hoteliers and also tourism practitioners in the past. And Pak Suteja will present the emerging trends and opportunities for sustainable tourism investment in Bali. Pak Mangku, silakan.
Yeah,
Time is yours.
Thank you, Bu Ratna, and thank you also, Dr. Eka, and all the distinguished speaker. At this opportunity, let me just share what I have on my screen now. I hope everyone can see it. The title of my presentation today is the Emerging Trends and the Opportunities for Sustainable Tourism Investment in Bali. I think every speakers before me have spoken about the data that includes the hotel numbers, villa numbers, tourism village, flight detail, etc., etc. And now let's have a look what is actually the trends for the last couple of years. So I will start from ecotourism. There are 7 trends that I think, this is my personal opinion, which is very interesting and could be a very potential business opportunity for the investors, for local investors or international investors. There is a growing emphasis on the environmental conscious travel experiences that promote the preservations of Bali natural landscape and biodiversity. So I think nowadays we found that the travelers are actively seeking for eco-friendly accommodations, tour activities that minimize their environmental footprint. I think now from the market, I notice a lot of people are talking about the the new way of enjoying Bali through the ecotourism, and I found many new destination is coming up. For example, Dr. Kanya was mentioning about the tourism village. For example, there are a lot of things now happening in the outskirts of Bali. For example, including the rural area that includes the waterfalls, the water cleansing, etc., etc. So they have got really a big problem in terms of capital and also the management of human resources, trainings, and technology. As a Balinese, I would expect that the investors, the new investor or the next coming investors would have the willingness also to invest on this opportunity. It's not only in the big hotels or big restaurant or cafes, but when we say we love Bali and then we want the Bali tourism retains or sustain, I think we have to work together to develop or to support our local people when developing these ecotourism. Then the trend number 2 on my next slide is community-based tourism. I think this is also related to the first trend on the ecotourism. There is an increased focus on promoting tourism model that empower local communities and preserve their cultural heritage. Travelers are interested in immersing themselves in authentic cultural experience and supporting local livelihoods through visit traditional village, participations, community-led initiatives, and supporting the local art and crafts. Nowadays, I found that quite many people are asking this question. For example, if they want to do a local tour around Bali, can you help me to book a tour where the place is not very touristic because I don't want to see too much tourists? So on this occasion, I think the possibility of creating a certain packages or tour packages, including the accommodations and the attractions, will be available at the village area to develop the community-based tourism. I'm not going to explain what is actually the community-based tourism, because everyone has known already about what is community-based tourism. And I notice now many people also searching some accommodations through a certain marketplace. Let's say, for example, Airbnb, they are trying to search some accommodation, which is myself, probably I don't know. It could be in Karangasem or in Singaraja, at the place which we have been before there, but the guest is already there before us. So they have a few problems, I guess. For example, like what Mangku Kanya was mentioning, he is trying with the government to develop the tourism village. However, they have got lack of ability and capability to set up and manage and creating the concept of the community-based tourism. If we look into the challenge that we have in Bali, for example, one area to another area have similar attraction and similar views. For example, if you look into Ubud or Tabanan or East Bali or North Bali, most of these places that I just mentioned have potential to build a new business which is based on the community-based tourism, because they have beautiful view of rice terraces, of the river, the attractions. But the problem is they don't have enough capitals and they don't have enough ability, they don't have enough support. And I hope that the investor will have the willing to support our community to develop their area. So by doing this, I guess the sustainable tourism that we expect for Bali and the prosperity of all can be happen in the future. Then my next slide, the third trend is wellness and mindfulness tourism. Bali has seen a rise in wellness tourism, with visitors seeking wellness retreat, yoga retreat, meditation center, and spa resort. This experience caters to travelers' desire for relaxation and rejuvenation and holistic well-being. I think everyone have maybe enjoyed a couple of yoga practices or spa treatment or any other activities which is related to mindfulness and wellness. This opportunity of business is still very wide. Let me just give you an example where we quite often got difficulties to book a space for a spa, for example. Let me just mention this number, or this the name of the spa, for example. Let's say like the ones next to Makavilla. Sorry, I forgot the name. If you want to go there, it books you to book the treatment. It takes a month or even two. That means there is a high demand on the wellness and mindfulness tourism. So let's say if we do the community-based tourism and ecotourism furthermore into the rural area by respecting the local culture and the nature, and of course, and by empowering the local community, I think this will help the Balinese and Bali itself to sustain. So trend number 4. Oh, this is quite unique, the sustainable gastronomy. I think there is a few good restaurants who is actually focused on the gastronomy, food products. As Bali is renowned for its vibrant food scene, and there is a growing demand for sustainable and locally sourced cuisine. Travelers are interested in farm-to-table experiences. This is quite very popular now. I think it started from farm-to-table experience, organic food market, and farm visit to understand the local food production process. So this gastronomy ideas, I think in the future is going to becoming a new trend in food food product, because they can create a different product which is with probably with a better quality and with different experience. So next trend is about the digital innovation. Bali embracing digital technologies to enhance the tourist experience while minimizing environmental impact. The use of mobile app with virtual reality and sustainable marketing strategies help visitors navigate the island, find eco-friendly accommodation, and learn about sustainable tourism practices. I think nowadays the digital innovations help the businesses, the owner, the investor, and also the tourists to see different kind of tourist attractions, including hotel or spa or restaurant, through the virtual reality. And this trend, I think, is going to be becoming more popular in the future. So next trend that I noticed is about conservation initiative. Various conservation projects and initiatives have emerged in Bali to protect the island nature asset, including coral reef, marine life, wildlife. There are opportunities for sustainable tourism investment in supporting this conservation effort through fundraising, adoption programs, and eco-tour focusing on conservation education. I talked to Dr. Reka on the phone a few days ago that we actually miss the investors or the NGO or whoever have concerns about conservations of our natures and culture. And I think this will give a very huge impact in the future if we really expect that our tourism sustain for our future generation. My next slide is responsible transport and infrastructure. This is the trends that I personally think need attention from everyone. It's not only the government responsibility, but let's hope in the future there is an investor who want to invest on the responsible transport and the infrastructure in Bali. The initiative for promoting the sustainable model of transportation, for example, like bike sharing programs, electric vehicle network, and gaining traction in Bali. Sustainable infrastructure development plan prioritize environmentally friendly design, renewable energy resources, and waste management. I think we're all aware that we got a problem with transportation systems, with the waste management, and also the infrastructure. For example, we spend an hour and half an hour for just 1 kilo or maybe 2 kilometers. This is also a trend which is happening for a decade, I think, where people are always complaining about the traffic. So from this 7 trend, there is an opportunity for the investors to see what kind of businesses actually available in the future to think or to develop. Okay, this is the opportunities. Let me just start the eco-friendly accommodation. This is related to the eco-tourism. With the increasing demand for sustainable tourism experiences, there is a growing market for eco-friendly resort, villa, and guest houses business that focus on energy efficient infrastructure, water management system, renewable energy resources, and waste reduction initiative can tap into this market. I think a few friends who is actually joining our Zoom meeting today and who manage a couple of property or probably in the development of a new property have tried to start already to apply the eco-friendly accommodation. And Bali, I do not think need to have more high-rise building hotels because we have enough already, and the number of rooms as all we aware that the number of room available is already more than enough. And in the future, we would like to expect a different model of investment that includes the eco-friendly accommodations. Then these eco-friendly accommodations, and I hope that will be developed not in the existing popular area, for example, like Seminyak, Canggu, Legian, Nusa Dua, and Uluwatu. Let's bring this up into the more rural, and the investment should involving the local community to empower the local community. So the second opportunity that may available is about renewable energy solution. Bali, I think, will have more problem with the energy in the future. As we know now, Bali is really dependent on the power supply from Java. And I think personally, Bali needs some investors to invest on these business models. Bali commitment to sustainability opens up opportunity for business specializing in renewable energy technologies. For example, like solar panel, wind turbines, and other renewable energy solution can be installed and maintained on the island to support the growing need for sustainable practices. I hope those of you who have enough capital would also have the willingness to invest on these ideas of renewable energy solution. Number 3, organic farm and agriculture. Following the information that we always listen from BRA of Bali and the governor and the chairman of Bali Tourism Board, including a couple of business practitioners, that Bali really depends from different other islands of Indonesia, for example, like Java or Lombok or Nusa Tenggara Timur, related to food supplies. And I agree with the governor that Bali should be developed to be an organic island. And this organic farming and agriculture is, it has a very potential business opportunity. And let's hope that more investor will look into this business model investment. Number 4, sustainable food and beverage. The increasing interest in sustainable gastronomy present opportunities for business focusing on organic, locally sourced, and sustainable food and beverage options. Restaurants and cafes and food stalls that prioritizing ethical, fair trade, and environmental friendly practices can thrive in Bali. We hope that hotels and restaurants and any other businesses which utilizing the food supplies in the future, they will maximizing to utilize the local product from the local farmer. And I think we need to support the effort from the government and the farmer, who is now trying to create different kind of organic farming, including fruits, veggie, and so forth. Then the next opportunity is wellness and spa services. I think this type of business has already been in place for so many long. However, there is another opportunity if somebody wants to develop wellness and spa services with a different type, which probably what will create in a different concept, that will be also potential business. I can give you one example. For example, Yoga Ban in Ubud, they are always very busy. And if somebody probably will develop something more more sustainable with all the newness, probably it will be successful in the future. Next opportunity is sustainable fashion and handicraft. As we all aware, Bali is known for its vibrant art and craft. Business that focus on eco-fashion, sustainable clothing, upcycling, and fair trade practices can tap into the market for ethically made products. Similarly, promoting traditional handicraft made by local artisans can support the preservation of Bali's cultural heritage. So following the regulations or the initiative from the governor, where now every Tuesday and every Thursday, we are the industries and the government officers should wear the local product. And I hope that this is going to continue. This is going to continue in order to make sure that the sustainable fashion and handicraft is going to happen still in the future. The last but not least, the sustainable transportation solution. With the increasing number of tourists visiting Bali, there is a need for sustainable transportation solution. Business that provide electric scooters, bicycle, car sharing services, or even eco-friendly transportation package can cater to the growing demand for responsible transport. The idea of having the electric motor, the electric cars, or the electric transportation is a great idea actually. And also the car sharing service idea is also another business idea that can be developed in the future. If this can happen, I think Bali will no longer having that bad traffic in the central of tourist destination, for example, like Petitangar, Canggu, and so on and so forth. So let's hope that these 7 ideas of business can become an inspiration for different investors for supporting Bali in the future. Thank you very much. So I give the time to Bu Ratna and Bu Eka. Bu Eka and Bu Ratna, time is yours. I spend not more than 10. I'm afraid I spent more than 10 minutes.
We'll mute you, Bu Ratna.
I don't see Ratna, I think.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, I'm unmuted now. Okay, Pak Suditya, thank you very much for your presentation. And I think I agree with you with the eco-friendly accommodation. As I mentioned earlier, that after COVID, our guests would like to go back to nature or close to nature. And that's indeed that we need to build that in the remote area. Like if you see Karangasem, Sidaman, it's a beautiful, the mountainous area, very cool. And that's go along with the wellness tourism. As you mentioned that every time in Ubud we have the yoga festival, it's always packed, it's always fully booked. And that's of course thanks to Julia Roberts, because the Eat, Pray and Love movie, people coming back. Oh, can I do that? Can I do the Julia do, So that's actually the motto promotion, but definitely agree with you. Yeah. Thank you again. And we'll come back to you later on in the question and answer session.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Okay, for the next speaker, we will have Mr. Mohammed Nalendra. So he is the co-founder of Wise Steps. Wise Step is a business management consultant and tourism destination with a global qualification who are here to meet the needs of the local governments, ministers, and also businesses in realizing responsible and sustainable destination. So what is actually maximize blue investment? So let's hear more from him. Pak Nalendra, silakan. Please, time is yours.
Thank you for Tourism Institute and Bu Eka and Bu Ratna for inviting me. My name is Nalendra, and I'm the founder of CEO of Wise Steps Consulting, a sustainable tourism consultancy firm based in Indonesia. So in this session, I will present the other side of tourism investment, which is also strengthened by the previous speaker. So the investment also, but not solely on economic and return investment, but also social and environmental return. For example, how Bali as a destination can survive and become more resilient and become sustainable in the middle of triple planetary crises such as climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. So I will talk about blue investment in marine tourism as one of the blue economy sub-sectors. But before it, please allow me to introduce my company, Wise Steps Group. We are a social business enterprise, which originally established as a travel operator in 2017. And then in 2020, when the pandemic hit, we set up two new entities, Steps Foundation, empowering local community. Our office is based in Lombok, and Step Consulting, based in Bandung. And our vision is to use the power of responsible tourism to transform the industry and the traveler's mind and local livelihood. And we as a group try to create an integrated approach to tackle the challenges at the destination and industry level. And Step Consulting works with the policymakers and DMOs, and also Step Travel provides a sustainable journey directly to the outbound market. And Step Foundation empower local community to enhance their well-being through responsible tourism. And so we try to use holistic approach to create integrated solution for tourism stakeholder. And also, we are also official training partner of GSTC, Global Sustainable Tourism Council in Indonesia. So we conduct online training regularly for tourism stakeholder, including destinations, hotels, and travel agents to gain deeper understanding about sustainable tourism criteria and how we can maximize our positive impacts and minimize the negative impacts by implementing 4 pillars of GSTC. So it is important for the industry to get deeper knowledge and become more sustainable. It is also related to the nowadays investor preference regarding ESG or environmental, social, and governance. So I will talk about blue investment and what is blue economy and how possible investment within the sectors. And as we know, the first question before discussing more detail on the topics will be why blue investment, why tourism, right? And tourism has two massive force for goodness and also force for destruction. So if it's mismanaged, then it creates more adverse impacts than positive impacts. And as you can see in this model, there are both positive and negative impact within 3 aspects from the industry: social, environmental, and also economic. And related to the blue investment and green investment, the travel and tourism are responsible for 11% to the global emission. And the number quite significant to trigger triple planetary crisis, including climate change and also biodiversity loss. And when we talk about tourism in Bali, so the development of tourism will bring about potential environmental problems, including the loss of valuable habitats such as coral reefs, wetlands, and mangrove used for tourism infrastructure, and also a large consumption of resources, including locally available food and clean water sources, and pollution caused by the discharge of untreated sewage and large amount of solid waste. So if you see the picture, there are several coastal and marine areas in Bali, which is already hotspot and mass tourism destination. These areas can potentially bring environmental problem to the ocean and ultimately affect the acceleration of the climate change. For instance, Nusa Penida and sustainable tourism itself has been shown to be responsible for the degradation of coral reef. So in Indonesia, Indonesia is particularly vulnerable to the effects of climate change, such as increasing sea levels. It can increase the risks of hydrometeorological disasters, where around 80% of the total disaster that occur in Indonesia originate from climate change. So it is very, important issues on our tourism industry. So the challenges of tackling climate change, there are 3: financial, incentive, and also regulation. More than 80% of the tourism value chain is created by SME or a small medium enterprise. So that the role of SMEs are really important to fight climate change. So there are 3 main challenges for tourism SME to tackle the climate change. The first one, financial. So sustainable infrastructure and project are relatively high cost, right? And then long-term impacts involves many stakeholders and also high risk. It needs more green investment, blue investment, and financing program to support tourism industry implementing the infrastructure. And however, currently SMEs experience lack of direct finance and support by local banks or multilateral banks, because several causes of this are the cost of due diligence and then insufficient collateral and credit history, and also less priority for SMEs when we talk about multilateral banks funding. And then incentive, also we need incentive from the government to shift and accelerate our business process towards sustainability. For example, the use of renewable energy. And then the third one should be the regulation, because this is also one of the challenges, because Indonesia with the autonomy government system is one of crucial, because national policy could not directly implement it in the regional level. Also, maybe we experience the silo effect. So between ministries and between government level, maybe we can experience like overlapping regulation. So our industry as an industry, maybe we can a little bit confused about it. So what is a green or blue economy? So we focus on the blue economy itself. Marine and coastal tourism is included in one of the blue economy subsectors. Coastal and ocean related tourism has many forms, including like diving, and then marine archaeology, surveying, cruises, and ecotourism, and also recreational fishing operation. So also coastal areas account for 80% of tourism, with beaches and coral reef being the most popular destination. So in the Bali context, now we're trying to rejuvenate from the pandemic. And as you may see in the figures, there's a top 3 biggest GRDP contribution for the sector in Bali. So accommodation is the largest. So the hospitality industry, maybe you may know, consumes a significant number of the groundwater. In fact, single room might use anywhere from 60,000 to 220,000 liters annually. And then tourists could spend 2 or 3 times waste than local community. But however, the allocation of renewable energy program is considered low. If you see in the right-hand side, if we compare to the potential of renewable energy in Bali. And we talk about investment opportunity. We can divide it into 5 categories or 5 elements of tourism, like accommodation and then amenities, activities, and etc. So based on the IFC and also ADB, we try to summarize the possible investment related to the blue economy. So there are focus area and then blue finance activities, possible investment, and then we related to the SDG goals. And as you can see that in terms of the focus area in pollution control, there are potentially we can invest in the blue finance activities. For example, in the solid waste management system and then resources efficiency, circular economy, and wastewater management. So for example, about the plastic collection and recycle facilities, we can invest in the waste management facilities and then wastewater treatment to get more resilience in the destination. And then in the accommodation level, there are 2 aspects regarding the operation, like pollution and then natural resources conservation. For example, in ocean or water-friendly products related to hospitality supplies, the possible investment, for example, financing the research, design, manufacture, trade, or retail of tourism and hospitality-related product with a sustainable supply of raw material like biodegradable and phosphate-free shampoo bar, soap bar, and etc. And then about the water supply, the drinking water treatment, storage, and sustainable supply infrastructure also can be possible investment on that. And another, in regards to the attraction, we can tap to focus areas such as ecosystem, natural resources management, and sustainable development and infrastructure. These include marine and river ecosystem. We can invest in development of ecosystem in insurance products related to critical aquatic ecosystems such as coral reefs, mangrove, and wetlands, and investing in conserving, improving, and restoring marine and coastal ecosystem. And also we can invest in the protect and restore marine protected areas. And regarding sustainable tourism services, there's also important to build a marine visitor center and then licensed certified sustainable tourism in the vicinity of marine conservation areas within less than 20 kilometers from the marine protected areas, MPA, right? And another focus area in the accessibility element, we can focus on the green port, establish more sustainable port. For example, investment to reduce maritime air and noise pollution, and investment in improvement of oil fuel spill prevention, risk safeguard and recovery facilities. And then the third one, solid waste receiver facilities at ports and terminal for the collection of garbage. So Benoa part should be one of the example. We should put attention on how the port can be more green and sustainable port. And amenities, this should be related on the supply chain, especially for the seafood. Like we can invest in the cold chain and storage for small and medium-sized fishing in area with sustainable fishing quotas. And then investment in fisheries, including investment in tuna and marine stewardship to get Marine Stewardship Council certification and etc. So after that, we have to know that type of investors. There are two in general, financial investors and corporate investors. And you can learn more about the kind of investor because by deep knowledge about the investor, we can see their preference and how to target this kind of investor in our financing to our sustainable project. And if you want to learn more, we can put the resources here. And if you want to get more information and get this presentation, you can contact me and in the website and also in my email. Thank you so much, and pardon me for the late. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Nalendra. What a great insight. Yeah, I agree with you actually, especially on tuna, Pak, because Bali, we used to export so many tuna to Japan, and hopefully it will come back soon. All right, thank you very much. Okay, distinguished listeners, the next speaker will be Professor Wolfgang Arid. He's the CEO of China Outbound Tourism Research Institute, Germany. So Professor Dr. Wolfgang has 45 years work across Chinese travel market. His career includes 20 years as Stern Professor of International Tourism Management and as CEO of China Outbound Tourism Research Institute, or COTRI, based in Hamburg, Germany, providing training and consulting for companies and organizations worldwide. He recently added the meaningful tourism paradigm to the toolbox for the successful and sustainable development of tourism for Chinese and other source markets. So, Dr. Wolfgang, please, time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Ratna, for your kind invitation. And let's see if I can share my slides with you. I hope you can see that.
Yes.
Okay, so well, we have been talking about a lot about investment in general and visitors in general. So maybe let us focus a bit more on one important source market, and of course it's China. And so our topic today is investment, and it's very important because the investors are also one part of the process, which is deciding what kind of visitors you get. So, and that's why I called my little presentation, and I will try to keep time more or less attracting the right Chinese investors to get the right Chinese travelers to Bali. So yes, already I have been very kindly introduced, so I don't have to say more that I've been working a long time with China. And very quickly, where are we now with the market? So, of course, everybody knows the story that in the last 20 years, up to the pandemic, China was outbound tourism was growing, and especially in the last few years before the pandemic, going to places beyond Hong Kong, Macau, Taiwan, which is the blue part here. And then the pandemic struck, and for the first half of 2023, these are current data. So we have about 23, 24 million outbound trips, but out of these, 50 million are only Hong Kong and Macau. So the Chinese outbound tourists are behind in the coming back to global tourism, which is in many cases a visa problem. Alex Reiner has been talking also about the air connections, which are now coming back into force. So probably in the second half, we will have much more Chinese tourists, but still it has been, of course, for many people kind of disappointment that it was not happening so fast. So here you can see the data for selected destinations. So as you can see on the top, Hong Kong had 10 million visitors in the first half year, Macau 4.5 million, and Indonesia is on position 10 in this list with almost 300,000 visitors, which you can see is actually quite a good number compared to many other destinations in the region and competing with Indonesia. So we can see that China outbound tourism is coming back, even a bit slow, but it is different than from before. And so we have been discussing and we talked about this today. Of course, we need sustainable tourism. We need more community-based tourism, ecotourism, small structures, respect for the local people, and so on. Unfortunately, if you look at the developments, all these ideas have been more or less forgotten, and in many places people tried just to make as much money again as possible. For instance, in Thailand, it's back to big arrival numbers, and the $0 tours, where people come for very low prices and then are pushed into shops for forced shopping, is back again. And also, I've been in Kathmandu for a conference with Pata recently, and you can see that the area, which was the hippie area in Kathmandu, Tamil, has been completely taken over by Chinese low-level investors having very cheap, bad quality hotels, restaurants, shops, and accordingly attracting too much criticism in Nepal. Chinese visitors who go there mostly because it's cheap, not because they are really very much interested in what they're going. So therefore, we see that there is a danger if you only have key performance indicator arrival numbers, and I think also in Bali, you know what we are talking about here. That is not enough. And the good news is that for Bali, that there are market segments in the Chinese market which are newly developing and which are interested in the offer Bali has to offer. So we have dinkies. This is double income, no kids. So more and more Chinese couples decide not to have any children because it's really expensive to have a child in a Chinese city and to enjoy the life and the money by themselves. You have more and more senior citizens, which in China means 55 plus. So couples who are interested in art, culture, history, also having more time. You have more and more health travelers, of course, also interested in what Bali has to offer. So nature has become much more important, and other outdoor activities. Food. So we saw some nice slides before about all the wonderful food and also art Bali has to offer, and the idea to go to discover new parts of the destination. So going away from the beach and coming to Bali and also going to other places. So Bali has a lot to offer for Chinese travelers. It is not so far away. Many people speak English. The food is easily acceptable for Chinese, much more like they come to Germany, for instance. And there is, of course, a lot to see and to look at. And it is more exotic, let's say, than Vietnam. but it is not something scary or alien than, for instance, some places maybe in Africa. And of course, your government is taking good care and given high priority to tourism, and you have a lot of different tourism resources which might not be communicated enough. So Qunar, which is one of the major OTAs in China, now belonging to Trip.com, they have come up with a very nice categorization saying that outbound tourism is moving in 3 steps. You used to have the big groups traveling in coach buses around for very superficial sightseeing. Then you had, before the pandemic already, smaller groups, people who do a lot of research, what they want to see, what they want to do before they go. And now, Mr. Go, the president of Qunar, said that we now see people are looking for their special interest. So they have a hobby or some interest, and they would rather say, okay, where can I go to follow my hobby, rather than say, okay, let's go to one place and then let's see what we are going. So he was saying in our new magazine we have been publishing recently, Country Intelligence, from 1,000 Chinese travelers visiting one destination, we move now to 1,000 Chinese travelers visiting 1,000 destinations. So the spread and the interest in going to other places, not to go to, not to follow everybody else, but to discover new places, is something which is, I think, one of the big trends in the Chinese outbound tourism market. So this is just as a little update, and allow me to say that we have a very nice format for one day, what we call recovery days for the Chinese market. So if you're interested, we're happy to do this with whoever wants to know more about what changed in the post-pandemic Chinese outbound market. But today we're talking about investors. So we also can see that this also has changed from previous times. So there's a renewed interest in Chinese investors in foreign direct investment in tourism and hospitality. We had a big surge of such investment in 2015, 2016, but after that, the numbers went rather down. But now this is renewed for a couple of reasons I quickly want to go through. One is, of course, well, if you read the news, you have seen that the Chinese economy is not in such a robust situation as it was before the pandemic. So the GDP growth numbers are going down. The import and export numbers were minus double-digit percentages for July, which was recently reported. So you see people investing, and one reason is that they think the pandemic has developed, had been a bad development for many places, so they go for bargain hunting. So trying to find with less investment opportunities inside China, so they will try to find some good offers outside. The second thing is that many of the very rich Chinese people, of the high net worth individuals, are looking for ways to transfer capital out of China. This, which is not as easy as it used to be, but there is, for many people, a high level of uncertainty, of anxiety. How will China's economy and China's society develop further? You may have heard that officially 21% of Chinese urban youth are unemployed, and some experts say that the real number might be even higher, so that the young people who finished university this summer, 11 million, maybe 1 or 2 million or 3 million of them find a good job according to their qualification. So that is something where some Chinese people say, well, let's get out of here. And we saw the news, I think, yesterday, that the richest woman in China just donated $800 million to a NGO in Hong Kong, which is run by her sister. So she is one of the owners of the real estate companies. And of course, in China, real estate market has big problems. Another reason is also that the big tour operators are also interested to invest because they see that there are big changes in the customer demand, so that the traditional tour operators are losing more and more business to OTAs like Trip.com or to experienced travelers who organize travel by themselves. So, and you can see that for Generation Y, so these are people who are now in their 30s and 40s, already 40% or so of them are using online travel markets, so not using traditional tour operators anymore. And also the numbers you can see, which are reported for the first half of 23, the vast majority of travelers is not traveling in a big group with a fixed itinerary, with a tour guide, but they are buying maybe their flight and the hotel bookings, but other than that, they are traveling by themselves. And the last point I want to make is, I think that's also very interesting, that in the last years in China, domestic tourism has developed a lot because all the Chinese travelers had to stay for 3 years inside China. And you can see that there's a much higher level of technology and digitalization. So if you travel in China, you see all this stuff, like on the left-hand side, this photo, in many hotels, in normal restaurants, you have robots as waiters, or helping the waiters carrying all the stuff. Or the other photo, this is a hotel where there's nobody in the hotel. It's fully automatic, and you have face recognition. So you book before, and your the face from your ID card is checked with the face you're showing to the camera, so that you have this. You have underwater hotels, a couple of them in China, where you have part of the hotel building is actually underwater, and so you can see the fish swimming in front of your hotel room. And even you have hotels, especially for gamers, where they have all the most modern gaming facilities to play video games. So, and a lot more of that. So that this is something, especially for younger Chinese people, what they are expecting from a hotel, that you have, for instance, the key is a QR code on your smartphone. You don't have a physical key anymore, and things like that. So this is also something where Chinese investors see, if they create hotels with such services, then especially for Gen Z people, they will be very much interested to stay in that places. And talking about the older people, and there are more and more retiring retirees which have money, so they are looking for authentic local building styles. So we heard about the idea, okay, we don't need more big concrete boxes. We need hotels where you can see where you are, which are connected to the local culture. And a lot of this is combining also learning with local culture, gastronomy, flora, fauna, whatever. So this photo, this is not Bali, obviously. This is a ship going to Antarctica. And this is a company doing this also specifically for Chinese customers, and where you have real professors of biology or geology from China giving lectures. And I know the general manager, and he said, well, the majority of their customers have a PhD and are really very deeply interested, paying $15,000, $18,000 for a trip. So that is also, you have all levels of people who just want to have a 90 minutes cooking class, maybe on Bali, but you also have people who are really deep into architecture or philosophy or whatever, and where they can have people staying for a longer time and not staying on the beach, but coming to places away from the mainstream areas and away from the main seasons. So there's a lot of new opportunities, and to work with Chinese investors on this will bring you the right choice, because well, to finish, there's a highway to heaven and a highway to hell, and so the highway to hell has been walked down by many destinations, so that if you're concentrating only on quantitative growth, if you're concentrating on numbers of arrivals, and then what happens is you have investment concentrating on quality, so the competition is on price, so the quality necessarily has to be bad, and the margins are very, very low, and you get customers who are not interested in the local culture, who are not careful, sorry, who are not careful with the local infrastructure and nature, where most of the jobs are staying in Chinese hands. So for the local communities, there are also no good or very few good jobs there, and you damage your brand image for the more affluent and maybe more educated Chinese people, who then think, oh, this is not the place I want to be seen in. And you might even have the danger of pushing previous source market visitors aside. So I think in Bali, you had some of this experience already in the past, and so there is no point in doing this again. So what's the highway to heaven? The opposite, obviously. So if you want to attract private high net worth individuals and investment and company investment, then that will have to be some examples I've just been showing, having special offers, original offers, unique offers, where you can ask for a higher price, where people stay longer, you have a better margin, and you get people who are really interested in Bali culture and the situation there, where more money is trickling down to the local communities, more jobs on a management level for the local community, and the brand image for the Chinese and for other markets is increasing. So I think this is something where today we heard a lot of arguments in favor of this and what already has been doing, and I think this is something we call this meaningful tourism approach. This is a way where you can really get the right investors, and from this getting the right Chinese tourists by having KPIs not only for arrival numbers, but KPIs for all the stakeholders involved in tourism. So maybe if you allow me just to say, we published also a nice little book on 88 practical ways to prepare for the new way for China visitors, if you're interested. But with that, thank you very much for your attention. And of course, if you have any further questions, happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor Wolfgang. Wow, what an insight. I like the word KPI, but for me, KPI is keep people interested. Anyway, thank you very much. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we already actually run out of time. We would like to conclude our seminar, our webinar by 5:30, but however, we have the last speaker on today's webinar. That will be Mr. Jürgen Steinmetz. Yeah, he will be introducing WTN World Tourism Network Summit later on. But Jürgen has continuously worked in the travel and tourism industry since he was a teenager in Germany back in 1979. Wow, beginning as a travel agent up through today as a publisher of the e-Turbo News, ETN, which I read every week, one of the world's most influential and most read travel and tourism publication. He is also the chairman of ICTP and CEO of New York-based Travel Marketing Network. Mr. Jürgen, please, time is yours.
Sorry, I switched to my phone here. Thank you very much, because I able actually to live stream this on our platform on eTurbo News as well, but I needed my computer, so that's why you see me twice here.
All right. Okay,
so we
please.
get more people. But
Yeah.
thank you very much. And it's always a challenge to talk last because everything was already said, and it was quite fascinating to reach out to everyone. And I agree, we do need this flight back from Los Angeles to Honolulu to Bali. At that time when it flew, my company was specialized in selling trips to Bali. We had 48 seats on every aircraft going this way, and this was the best business, most money-making business I ever did, and the most fun business I ever did. But it's not only about my business. If you really look at the American market, and if you look at the numbers presented by Amadeus, and also what Wolfgang had been saying, you kind of get the sense that the American market is overlooked. The demand is there. People just simply don't know how to get there in a reasonable way. And it's not only the money, it is the time involved to get to Indonesia and to Bali. Direct flights sometimes may not be all these money makers. And I know Garuda had this discussion way back, but investing into a direct air link, I think, to the United States would be the smartest thing any airline from Indonesia could do. And the government should support, because even if there is no profit directly in this air link itself, the profit will come in with visitors that are more interested. Since you're going long haul, you're not going to get the same visitors we get in Florida and we get in Hawaii. Of course, tourism is a business. We all don't need to forget this. Most people that travel, they don't travel for culture. They don't really care about the destination, but they go where it's fun to go and where they think it's something they haven't seen. But it's not all about being a responsible tourist. So knowing this, I think a destination can do a lot to guide these tourists to go where they should be going. Like in Hawaii, it's Waikiki. Maybe in Bali, it's Kuta and Legian, the area that is well known for also party tourism. But responsible tourism is important, and you have to look at the right audience. When I look back in the year 2000, 1999, 2000, 2001, when I was active in Bali, I remember there was, and I'm not going to say any names here, but there was a hotel and an operator in Bali who's still there, who was concentrated on the Russian market. He organized charter flights to come in nonstop from Moscow to Bali at the time, and the plane stood at Denpasar Airport. It didn't go anywhere, and I was asking, I mean, you really cannot make money to do this. You could fill your hotel, and it was all about really one hotel group, if you had flights going back and forth. And the response was, well, we cannot do this because they destroy my bar and they destroy our rooms every time they come, but we're making so much money on the Russians, so we have a crew here and they come the other week and they build everything up. Well, are these the tourists we want? These are not the tourists that are going to go on a cultural way. Now look at the Germans, look at the Europeans. Germans stay longer. Germans are, for the most part, responsible tourists. And Germans are coming to see something and to experience something. Maybe that's a market to go after. Again, no direct flights. The US market are tourists that stay a relatively short time. They don't travel that much. But if they go this long distance, most likely, and I can see this from when I sold Bali, these are tourists, they spend money. They spend a lot of money in a short time. And they are interested not necessarily just in the party aspect. So while I'm saying this, our organization, the World Tourism Network, is looking forward to having our executive summit in Bali the end of September. And we hope everyone who's here on our group and anyone else, you can spread the word, is going to be part of it. You can go to time2023.com and sign up. But we're going to be talking exactly about this. We're going to be talking about SMEs, the small and medium-sized businesses in the world, because that is what our organization is all about. It's all about SMEs. And SMEs need to be understood. If you look again at the US market, the most powerful tour operators are usually large businesses. They produce a lot of travelers, but travelers usually don't necessarily book anymore and go to travel agents for routine travel. But they do go to travel agents when they're completely lost or when they're looking for something special. And there's the opportunity again for the SME, small business travel agencies, to put their own packages together and actually deal with the people no one else wants to deal with the small and medium-sized businesses the lady from Asita mentioned before, that are actually looking for business. Because in dealing from SME to SME would generate a more quality product in many ways, and it's more money making for the travel agents and the small tour operator putting this together. So this is really what our organization is about, to help SMEs, to help this market, what's a classical market for Bali, to strive and to be understood. And there comes, of course, the responsibility, what has to come from the public sector. And we mentioned earlier village tourism, but people not just going to go to villages on their own. So it needs this guidance. Yes, it needs the investments for them to compete. And one last thing, I didn't really look at the time here. We all have a chance now after COVID to rebuild tourism the way tourism should be. So this responsibility needs to be carefully planned. So I hope that someone in Bali from the tourism authority is listening to our event today and analyze all this data. And it wasn't really that much data, but analyze it and try to really understand this data, because there's a lot of information here we can learn from. Tourism is also a very resilient business. And what we do at our event in Bali, we're going to bring the Honorable Edmund Bartley from Jamaica who started the Global Tourism Resilience Center, and also is the man behind the United Nations now calling a Tourism Resilience Day. And what better destination in the world when it comes to resilience is Bali? I've been in Bali when we had the bomb attacks. I was there when it happened. So I know the history on this. I know the taxi drivers, they said, we don't know how to feed our family. And Bali always stood up. It always got back. So it's probably one of the most resilient destinations I know. And it's also a leader in the travel and tourism industry. What always has been a challenge in Bali, and then I close with this, in my opinion, was to understand the importance of SMEs. Specifically, I remember the time after the bombing many years ago, the hotel prices between the 5-star and the 3-star and the 2-star were like $10. American travelers, European travelers, I'm not going to want to save $10 to stay in a small hotel. A lot of these guys went bankrupt. So it takes responsibilities, it takes organization and structure to protect what is there, because the SMEs is not only a business, there are many family businesses that are run by SMEs, but it's also a structure and the soul of a destination. If you lose your soul to the big guys, and again, I'm not going to mention the big names here, but many times if you go into these type of establishments, the soul behind it, the people behind it, they're not really 100% there anymore behind this business. It's just too big. So protect the SMEs, attend our event, time2023.com, September 28th. And thank you for the opportunity to be here today. And yes, if anyone has any questions, contact me, or if we have time to be asked questions, I'm here as well. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih kembali, Pak Jurgen. I'll see you next month in Bali. All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, I know time is ticking, but we still do have time for 1 or 2 or 3 questions. But please limit it to short question, okay? Please, anyone? Raise your hand. No?
I
All
think
right, then.
the gentleman from Dubai, he already left. He had a few questions, but they can always mail us. So I don't know if any speakers want to add something more. Anybody, any comments?
Yeah, maybe I think that, hi, my name is Safaro. I'm in impact sustainable tourism as well as events in Bali, Indonesia. So I'm actually in the sustainability sector in the realm of real estate investments, impact investments to be exact. Let me turn on my camera, yeah? Hang on, to introduce myself. I've been waiting for this moment actually. Hang on, okay? Yeah. Okay, right. I'm actually a big follower of Mangku Kandia. And I've known him for a long time and I really respect his work. Let me turn on my camera. And through his advocacy that I got to know you guys. Hi, everyone. So my questions, so I'm in these sustainable fashion, sustainable events. I mean, also doing social impact, meaning my social impact retailer gives part of our earnings to indigenous villages, eco villages, Balinese community runs, like healthcare, especially in the mountains, and to few advocacies as well. I also do some kind of UN research work in circular economy. So the publication will be in the next quarter in 2024. And I'll let you all know. My questions are for today, right? It's participatory sustainable tourism, meaning I have a couple of investment projects, impact projects ready, initiatives ready to launch in the realm of eco-diversity villages in Papua and also sustainable real estate. How and who shall I contact? As well as also mental health, spiritual programs, collaborating with Pak Mangku because he's my Mangku that I've been doing a lot of healing with as well for the past few years. So how do I integrate my programs with you guys? Is there a way? Thank you.
You're welcome. Maybe Dr. Eka, would you like to reply?
Well, I think we have a source person, speakers here. There are Dr. Mangku Kandia, and then for Wise Step, who can answer this question.
Perfect.
Yeah. Let Nalendra to answer the question.
Apa pertanyaannya Vero? Maka. Sorry, can I hear because I'm at the airport. What the question, Vero?
Pak enggak dengar ya tadi.
Consumption Wisi here at the airport.
Where are you now?
It's already boarding, Pak Kandia.
Yeah. I would like to go to the airplane.
Asking about the tourism village and the sustainable tourism.
I'm supposed to go to your house, Pak Mangku.
Oh, yeah, sure. Come tomorrow. I'll be at home this evening.
Tomorrow I can't. I will bring some people to you for in the next few days. I'll bring people.
All right.
To days as well.
Chat me, yeah.
Yeah.
Leave a message.
Is there anybody else in terms of sustainable?
Maybe the other friends would like to answer from Faro, please.
I'm talking about mostly about sustainable real estate as well as responsible tourism initiatives, investments. Is there somebody that could answer me?
Yeah. Okay, the other speakers, please help me. Thank you.
Maybe Jürgen can say something. Jürgen? No?
How about if let's say we can connect? What I'm trying to say is that is there a driver here, or maybe numbers or initiatives, or someone can leave their contacts so the LinkedIn we can link or have also a meetup session in Bali as a group. Is there such things?
Okay, Ms. Ratna, do you want to say something about that question? Maybe? And also I
Yeah,
see
well,
the
actually,
gentleman from
yeah.
Dubai is back here. Maybe he has also the last question, and then we can close then.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you, Pharaoh. Well, actually, this is the G2G and also the investor related. And you just send us an email. What is your program on your sustainability, and then we can direct it to the for the well-connected people,
Perfect.
so that you have the right answer.
So
Yeah.
it's mostly I should direct all my questions to the Institute of Tourism then.
Yes, you may go to our website that and then you can place the remark there. So that's the institutetourism.com. So that the details and email access that you can contact it to that institutetourism.com. Yeah, and then we will relay all the messages. All right. Thank you, Val.
Thank you, everyone. Bless you all.
All right.
So the question that
Thank you, Pharaoh. See you soon in my house.
Yeah, I'll do that. Bye.
Yeah. So the question I had was the biggest issue we are seeing in Bali is traffic. So if you look at the time taken from Denpasar to Kuta or Denpasar to Ubud, it's 1.5 hours, and this is not sustainable in a way. So when we were talking to the government said that we are moving on developing toll roads. So what is the current project is called Menggawi to Gilimanuk toll. So Paramount just announced the biggest theme park in Bali. They're saying they're starting. It's also in west of Bali. So we're seeing a lot of development coming up in west of Bali, and we got investors who want to invest in Tabanan in that area. So what is the progress of the project? How early can we see the projects becoming fruitful?
Well, as far as I know, it's still ongoing. So mainly because there are a few steps from Mengwi to Gilimanuk, but I know that our government is speeding up because the supposed to be finished by Q3 in 2024. So hopefully, I know Paramount is coming up. Paramount is already groundbreaking, and that will be also become one of the Bali icon in the northwest of Bali Island.
Yeah, it's in Jimbrana, I think so, right?
Yes, in Jimbrana.
Yeah, so the projects are on track. That's a question. Okay.
Yes, it's on track. It's on track.
Thank you.
Dr. Eka, would you like to add?
Yeah, I think it's the same answer that already give by Mrs. Ratna, and we have a project in Jembrana during the Hollywood, and then also the toll from the Pasak to Jembrana, and then I think our Ministry of Transportation already arranged about the project this year and next 2 years ahead. Thank you.
Yeah. All right then. So I think, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished speakers and all the participants, it was such a fruitful talk, a lot of insights from our speakers. So thank you very much. Hopefully that we can tap from them what we can do best for Bali. So, but if you have any other questions, concerns, or opinions, you may go direct to institutetourism.com, and from there, we will direct you to whatever is necessary. So rather than this great panel discussion today, and the closing statement will be delivered by Director of the Institute of Tourism, Dr. Reza Sultani. Time is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It was a great webinar. We learned a lot. And actually, the last word is for our chairwoman, Dr. Eka, that she's going to conclude. I just want to say thank you so much also, Ratna, for your great moderation and all the speakers. I see also still Jürgen here. Thank you so much, Jürgen, and sorry for being so must wait so long time. So we look forward also to your event in Bali. I hope it will be successful, and it will be. So Dr. Eka, please, maybe you do the conclusion, and thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you. Dr. Eka?
Yeah. Thanks, Dr. Reza. I think I would like to say thanks for sharing with us, for the speakers, for the insight. We hope that this event gives inspiration to all of us. We are from Bali. are very welcome you come to our Bali, the island of God with thousands of its culture. And it has been our pleasure to host this event. We look forward to seeing you at the next webinar. And I wish you all a pleasant day, and we hope to see you in Bali. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
All.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for hosting the event. All have a nice evening. Thank you.
Have a nice evening.